Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to begin service of Peter S. Pick. There was a private burial earlier today, therefore please don't be concerned about driving to Waldheim Cemetery on a Friday afternoon in Chicago. Officiating today will be Rabbi Nina Mizrahi and Hazzan Toby Lou. This time I ask everyone to please be sure that your cellular phones have been turned off. The Kriya ceremony was performed at graveside, and we welcome those of you who are joining us via live stream.
So we are here this afternoon to honor the memory of Peter S. Glick Pick. Let me start that again. We're here to remember Peter and for me to meet the family, another part of the family, and we welcome you here today. Well, I would like to mention the names of the people because it's a lot of people that are here from the family, and I think that it's important to hear your name as acknowledging your presence. So Peter was the loving father of Karen and the late Stephen Dwyer, and father of Linda, whose husband is Larry Herdman, and Judi, whose husband Tony Sanchez, and the proud grandfather of Megan Dwyer, Michelle and Michael Grindley, Michael Dwyer, Kyle and Diane Herdman, Jessica and Brandon Muehleisen. Okay. Danielle Herdman, Brett Herdman, Kelly and Dan Brown, Patrick Sanchez, Alyssa Sanchez, and the great grandfather of Reagan Herdman and Jayden Herdman, Annabelle Brown, and Colton Brown, and Weston Brown. And we recognize also Peter's dear cousin, Ralph and Lynn Oko. We begin with a chanting of a passage from Psalm 121, SIA 9.
Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz.
Holes, strangest of gaps, parents, spouse, beloved friends. The black holes of the astronomer are not mysterious. This kind of hole will not be filled with candle flames or even 1,000 thoughts. The hole is inside us. It brims over, is empty and full all at once. So today we've gathered to open our hearts to the fullness of Peter's presence in our lives and open to the emptiness we feel now that he is gone. And today we remember him. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember him. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember him. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of the sun, we remember him. In the rustling of leaves, in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. We remember we are him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember him, and we too shall live with Peter in our hearts, because he is now a part of us, and we remember him. We continue with the chanting of Psalm 23, and it'll be followed by the reading of Psalm 23 that's in your booklet.
Adonai roi lo echsar bin odeshe yarbitzeini al mei menuchot al mei menuchot Yenaleini Nafshi Shovev Yishovev Yancheni Behemagilei Tzedek Leman Shemo Gam Kielech Begeitz al Mavet Lo irara Ki ata imadi Shiftecha umishantecha Hayman chamuni Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorirai tishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya Ach tov chesed hirdefuni kol yemei chayai kol yemei chayai Veshavti bevet Adonai leorech yamim.
We read together, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of the righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." So just one phrase to take from Psalm 23. At a moment when we experience loss, Kosi Rivaya means my cup runneth over, that there also is an overflow of love and connection, that especially when we are in this place of having lost someone very precious. We gather the abundance, the meaning of their life, and it fills our cup with sweet wine. We will be hearing from a few people this afternoon, and they represent three different parts of Peter's life. Faye Weinstein, representing Central Synagogue. Michael Dwyer, one of Peter's many grand and great-grandchildren, representing Peter's family from his first marriage. And Lonnie Cannell, a student and friend of Toby's. So I'd like to invite Faye to come up and share her words.
I'm Faye Weinstein, speaking not only as a dear friend, but as secretary and on behalf and collaboration with Marvin Weinstein, my husband and the president of Central Synagogue of Chicago, who is unable to be here because of health reasons. I want to share with you how important and how very devoted Peter was to our synagogue. For example, when he was working at Hamakor and would help someone buy a talit and put it on, he would be telling them about our synagogue and doing the marketing for the synagogue. When it was Peter who would search and research by phone, online, and physically the many, many places, and then negotiate space for our synagogue when we needed to move. In fact, he found our current location and by developing a relationship with the manager of the building at 122 South Michigan. It was Peter who, when we needed space for the high holidays, would make multiple calls and even got us into the Drake Hotel when others said they'd never have us. He knew more about Hebrew language than any professor could possibly tell us. And he could tell us about the history and the meaning of any Hebrew word and phrase, and actually gave lectures on the English words that were derived from Hebrew. Peter had a wonderful sense of humor and often would kibitz and volley back and forth puns with others at Kiddush lunch and entertained us with stories from his childhood in Israel. And we will always, always, always remember how hard he made us laugh at Seder's with his, quote, animated sounds of each of the animals in Hadgadyo song. And lastly, and most importantly, Peter inspired us constantly with his love for and devotion to the love of his life, Toby.
I was lucky enough to reconnect with my grandpa as an adult. We lost some years together, which we both lamented often. but in looking back, I can view it as a blessing. It was by choice we built a relationship as two adults. Sorry. We became great friends. The love we had for each other was reignited. I felt to get connected to my earliest, purest memories. Grandpa Pete was like no other when we were kids. I'd stay up late on sleepovers waiting for him to come home. We watched my first Super Bowl together, and he cared for Oma, his hero, a hero to my mother and aunts, and my family's savior as she was stricken with cancer. He lauded Oma and spoke of family history so vividly. I didn't know how he could remember everything. It's the proudest part of my heritage. Grandpa was forced from his homeland as a toddler. His open heart and contemporary viewpoints reflected that experience. He never discriminated against anyone. He loved languages. When he learned his nurse was from Haiti, merci, he'd say, as she handed him the soup. When the hospital valet was from Iraq, I don't know who was more delighted when Grandpa got the chance to speak to him in Arabic. I can't mention my grandpa today without mentioning the love he had for Toby. They built a partnership that was inspiring. It was a model for how two people could work together, could live for each other when they are meant to be together. I only hope to have such a love one day. Not all Peter's grandkids got to know him the way I did. I only wish they could have. He was a wonderful man. He had an open heart, a wonderful sense of humor, and everyone he met, he made friends with. I love my grandpa, and I'll miss him and cherish him always.
Peter was my teacher and my friend. His style of teaching was one of patience, encouragement, humor, and love. I first met Peter when I decided to learn some conversational Hebrew prior to a trip to Israel. Shortly thereafter, I started biblical Hebrew with both Toby and Peter. Peter was a knowledgeable teacher. I could always count on him to find an error in the workbook. Peter was also an extraordinary shofar blower. When my granddaughter Romy wanted to learn how to blow the shofar, Peter used his teaching skills along with his shofar blowing skills to teach her. Then whenever I saw Peter, he always asked about Romy. He had a beautiful relationship with her, as he did with all of his students. He truly cared. I want to thank Peter for coming into my life. I learned so much from you about Hebrew, Judaism, and life. You always told me that you missed me during the time when we were unable to study together. Now I will miss you.
Very powerful. It's so wonderful when we have a chance to hear from different people and we begin to pull all of the pieces of Peter's life together and make a construct and notice the overlapping in the perception of love and kindness and teaching, all really important and beautiful qualities. So in the midst of grief, we're also faced with our own mortality. We're called upon to affirm the sanctity of life through the act of gathering remembrances. In this way, each memory about Peter is gathered into the sacred text of his life. And within each memory, there is wisdom to be gleaned. In his poem, Everlasting, David White writes the following: "We live in the light and the love of those who came before us, who helped us to see and to celebrate and recognize ourselves, and who brought us here, and whose light we now pass on, so that even at the end of time, even in the quietest sense of disappearance, even in the far distance of times beyond our present understanding, we will be remembered in the way others still live and still live on in our love." So together we gather as an expression of love. And we begin this process of gleaning wisdom from his Torah. So we know Torah is scripture, but I mean the Torah that is written by the way a human being leads their life, how they are in the world when people are looking, and how they are in the world when people aren't looking. Many of the insights we glean from each remembrance, now and into the future, and I invite all of you, and if you speak with other people who knew Toby, I'm having a day today, Toby, who knew Peter, this is the time to write down remembrances in a letter so that there can be some kind of documentation. It could be a picture somebody drew, one of the great-grandchildren. It can be anything that you want to share that makes you smile and appreciate humanity when you think about Peter. And so that's very sacred and important work that lies before us. May the insights we glean from each remembrance, now and into the future, become the seeds of Peter's living legacy, waiting to be planted by those whose lives he touched. May each seed planted grow into a garden of enduring legacy that will continue to grow and blossom, l'dor vador, from generation to generation. Just a little bit of background that Toby shared with me yesterday. In 1935, Peter was born in Munich, Germany. Not a good time to be there. In 1936, with the insistence of his mother, the family left Palestine, and the week after they left, the SS came for his father. Peter lived in Palestine through 1948, which was also an auspicious year. We celebrated the birth of the State of Israel. And in addition to speaking German, which was important to his mother, Peter also learned and became fluent in Hebrew and Arabic, and of course, English. Peter eventually joined the US Army and became a translator, which he really enjoyed. Though from a non-observant family, Peter's growth as a Jew skyrocketed when he met Toby. Peter's first job after the Army was working for a computer company and later at Hamakor, where his knowledge and passion for Judaism and Hebrew served him well. Music was an integral part of Peter's life. As a lover of music, Peter became so knowledgeable that he could name a piece and identify the conductor and the performers. And I love the example of Hamakor, where he really was. He had a title. So he didn't just blow shofar. He was a Baal Tekiah. That was his thing, right? Not everybody can blow a shofar, a ram's horn. I don't know if you've ever tried. It's difficult, more so to make it sound beautiful, each blast. And it's a wake-up call. And Peter was able, for so many people, to invite deeper spiritual awakening through each blast of the shofar. And I know he enjoyed, when he was at McCore, oftentimes B'nai Mitzvah students come looking for a shofar. They're one of their first Jewish ritual objects when they come of age. And he loved to help pick out the right shofar. And he could be heard blowing the shofar in the store. Everyone stopped. It was so beautiful. Through his adult years, Peter tutored B'nai Mitzvah students and was excellent at teaching both conversational Hebrew, primarily to adults. But we heard a lot about his love of teaching and how important that was for him. Most striking and meaningful in his life was Peter's great love for Toby. From the moment he met her in the early 1990s, he was smitten. Ever perseverant, he pursued and courted her, and even became an active congregant and leader in the congregations where Toby served as Hazzan. That's love. Toby became, in fact, the love and focus of his life. They were married in 1998, and with each passing day until his death, their love continued to grow and flourish. Such a love gives meaning to the passage of Song of Songs, Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. Rabbi Naomi Levy writes, death cannot sever our connection to those we have lost. The soul is eternal and can never be extinguished. And the bonds of love and friendship are stronger than death. The lessons that our loved ones taught us, their goodness, their deeds, their wisdom, will remain with us always, a permanent imprint upon our souls that can never be erased. They continue to guide us wherever we go. We will remember Peter as being devoted and capable of loving deeply, being dependable and consistent, valuing his relationships with others, his willingness to stand up in the face of adversity and danger, his courageousness in not giving in at those difficult moments. He was deliberate in his actions. He paid attention to what things ought to be. He was intelligent, sometimes stubborn, a gifted linguist and teacher, a gentleman, perseverant in his passion for teaching Hebrew, actively engaged in the Jewish community, fiercely loyal and loving to his wife, Toby. He was a good Jew, a good person, someone who loved his entire family through all of the generations. He was a spark, a reminder of what love might be for us. Toby shared with me a little note this morning that she wanted me to include about her feelings about Peter, a gentle soul, a gifted teacher, my teacher, the love of my life. Many of the remembrances we heard today and those that will unfold in the days and months to come reflect back to us the light of Peter's soul and the teachings of his Torah. May we, as members of an extended family, friends, peers, and community members, open our hearts to receive the blessings that Peter gave us in life and those we have yet to receive and transmit through his living legacy. We honor his memory by carrying these blessings forward. Peter will be missed. His lessons will endure. And I hope that they will spark in each of us or fill up a deeper well of love and our capacity to share all kinds of love with one another in a time where we need a lot of love. We continue now with the chanting of El Malay Rahamim. Please rise.
El Malay Rahamim Shochen Bamromi Hametzemenu Chanechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'malot Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Shalom ben Dov Eliza Shehalach le'olamo Began Eden temenuchato Annabelle harachamim Hastirehu בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
A traditional rendition of El Malay is found in your booklet. I'd like to share an interpreted version. El Malay Rachamim. Rachamim is compassion. In perfect peace and sadness, the way of things. May Peter's memory be for us a blessing, and may we never let the light of his love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all his worthy and righteous deeds, that his memory be forever bound up in the bond of life. God is our source and our destination, our beginning and our end. May Peter's death awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we share and share not be severed in sorrow. May he rest in peace, and together we say, Amen. Please be seated. Kohelet wrote, "The eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearn for yet another moment. But the final summons comes. And how we yearn to have them close to us in yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, yet another precious moment together. God be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this moment. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until the time of healing. May the love and eternal connection of our souls give us strength as we turn to recite the words hallowed by time, sanctifying the Blessed Holy One. We honor the memory of Peter S. Pick, Shalom ben Dov Eliza, with the words of Kaddish Yatom. It can be found on the back of your handout.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service. And for those of you who want to stay and visit with the Hazzan and her family and Peter's family, you're more than welcome to do so until 4:30. The Shiva will continue at her home at 8828 Niles Center Road, apartment 606. That's here in Skokie, across the street. Tomorrow night from 6:30 to 9 p.m. with a minion at 7:15. Sunday and Monday from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., also with a minion at 7:15 p.m. Please note that masks are required in the home. There will be no food served, and please do not have any food delivered. Memorial contributions to the Michael I. Jacobson Memorial Gomle Fund or the Chicago Central Synagogue of Chicago would be appreciated. That information is on the service folder. And for the many people joining us via live stream, all this information can be found on our website. This time the services are concluded. We are going to turn off the live stream, and we wish everyone Shabbat Shalom.